This government, as promised, has maintained the closest surveillance of the Soviet military buildup on the island of Cuba. Within the past week, unmistakable evidence has established the fact that a series of offensive missile sites is now in preparation on that imprisoned island. The purpose of these bases can be none other than to provide a nuclear strike capability against the Western Hemisphere.
The Cuban Missile Crisis. The Cuban Missile Crisis of October 1962 was the closest the world has ever been to nuclear war. The crisis was a major confrontation between the U.S. and USSR. The confrontation was caused by the Soviets pushing missiles into Cuba. The confrontation was caused by the Soviets putting missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles off the coast of the United States of America. The world was in the hands of President John F. Kennedy and Premier Nikita Khrushchev. These two men would have to reach a compromise, or else the results would be fatal. A military reconnaissance plane retrieved photos of Cuba's surface with Russian nuclear missiles. President JFK was notified of the photos.
Look at these photos. Missiles in Cuba!
New photos were taken and revealed larger long-range nuclear missiles that can strike the entire United States. This caused more tension between JFK's generals, Congress, and himself. Troops were readied at the southeast of the country. JFK met with the Soviet foreign minister and asked about what aid had been provided to Cuba. Gromyko states that the only help that had been provided was through the means of crops and defensive weapons for the safety of Cuba, and that they would not be harmful to the United States of America.
Are there missiles in Cuba?
There are no missiles in Cuba.
Are you certain that there's no missiles in Cuba?
There are no missiles in Cuba.
I need you to be on. Are there missiles in Cuba?
No missiles in Cuba, my friend.
Well,
No missiles. No.
JFK goes on a political campaign trip to Ohio and determined that the only two solutions that were worth looking at were quarantine and airstrike followed by an invasion. He does not call it a blockade because that would mean it would be an act of war in international standards.
Alright guys, so Cuba, they're launching a missile, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take a crap ton of our ships and we're gonna put them outside of Cuba, so therefore they can't get in from Russia, and we're not gonna call it a blockade because blockade means war. We're gonna call it a quarantine. Mic drop.
After 5 hours of discussion with officials, JFK decided on the enforcement of a quarantine and told his generals to prepare for the action and the possibility of invasion. JFK then went on to fake a cold and return to Washington, managing to evade a great deal of confrontation from the press. Ted Sorensen wrote the speech that JFK would then present on TV. JFK spoke with one of his most trusted generals, General Walter Sweeney, who told him that an airstrike would not be able to remove 100% of the missiles from Cuba.
much. It's a really good speech. Thank you.
Sir, if we do this airstrike, there's no guarantee that we can get all those missiles out of Cuba.
What do you mean we can't get all the missiles?
We can't.
XCOM was formed as a group in order to decide what to do on this particular issue. They met and went through many options that inevitably ended in nuclear disaster. JFK contacted Khrushchev before airing on TV to assure that he was doing no harm to the United States, but that he was just making his citizens aware. JFK went on TV and told American citizens what has been going on.
Hey, Ike, I just wanted to... Yeah, we're gonna die. Can I get, like, a redo? Like, is there kind of, like, button in the office? Can I just... What do you mean, no? Harry, how's it going? I just got off the phone with Ike, and... Yeah, but we know we're gonna die, but can you help a little bit, or you just get... Why can't I get a redo? Alright everyone, welcome to the first meeting of XCOM! How's everyone enjoying their avocados? Alright, perfect. So, basically our plan here is we're gonna go contact our buddy Khrushchev over in Russia and, death to the Soviets and all that jazz, right? America! Come on everyone, America! America! Oh yeah, man! America! Good evening, my fellow citizens. The government, as promised, has maintained the closest surveillance of the Soviet military buildup on the island of Cuba. Within the past week, unmistakable evidence has established the fact that with a series of offensive missile sites is now in preparation on that imprisoned island. The purpose of these bases can be none other than to provide a nuclear strike capability against the Western Hemisphere. Bro, we're all good.
Adlai Stevenson laid the matter before the UN Security Council. The ships of the Naval Quarantine Fleet moved into place around Cuba. Khrushchev ordered the ships on their way to Cuba to halt and turn back. JFK was riddled with fear.
Stop sending ships to Cuba!
Khrushchev refused to remove the missiles and blames Kennedy for putting the world at risk of nuclear war and inevitable destruction.
Get your missiles out of Cuba.
No, we not get missiles out of Cuba.
Why not?
No, you screwing up with it.
You know what? I'm ordering more flights.
Adlai Stevenson destroyed Russian Ambassador Zorin in a political battle. Kennedy ordered an increased amount of flights every day over Cuba. JFK urged Khrushchev to change the course of events.
Boy, communism is a flawed system. Boy, communism is gay. I can't stand communism. You suck. You suck. I hate you.
Photographic evidence revealed accelerated construction of the missile sites and the uncrating of Soviet Il-28 bombers at Cuban airfields. In a private letter, Fidel Castro urged Nikita Khrushchev to initiate a nuclear first strike against the U.S. in the event of an American invasion of Cuba. John Scully, ABC News reporter, is approached by Alexander Fomin of the Soviet embassy staff with a proposal for a solution to the crisis. Later, a long rambling letter from Khrushchev to Kennedy makes a similar offer. Removal of the missiles in exchange for lifting the quarantine and a pledge that the U.S. would not invade Cuba. An American pilot got lost in Soviet airspace and was shot down. Another letter came the very next day, having added the new term to the removal of the obsolete Jupiter missiles from Turkey. Generals attempted to force JFK to invade Cuba, but it did not work, and he was only further agreed to the readying of the troops if invasion is necessary. Robert Kennedy also met with Ambassador Anatole Doibrin with the promise to not invade Cuba and the secret proposal to remove the nuclear missiles in Turkey in 6 months' time to make it not seem like a trade for the removal of Russian missiles in Cuba.
After 2000, yeah,
Take your missiles out of Cuba.
Take your missiles out of Turkey.
Okay.
Khrushchev agreed to Kennedy's terms and the crisis had been avoided. Phew!
And go.
Oh, what's your name again? Wait, what is your name?
Give me the photos. Oh my God, Cuba's and missile.